Cool guys, so in this video we're going to be going over what pairs should you trade, what are the different sessions that we have, and what pair to trade in these sessions. Because I mean it's so important because essentially where traders are making their money is where there is volume. You don't want to be sitting in for 4 or 5 hour trade watching price just do this, left, right, up and down, not ever moving, not breaking out of the support and resistance zones. We want to see volume come into the markets. Now, if you come onto the right side here of your trading view platform, you can clearly see that you can add multiple different symbols, right? So something that's very important to understand is the 3 different time sessions that we have. Okay. So we have Asian session, right? We have London session, then we have New York session, and then we have Sydney session. Okay. The 3 that I want you to worry about is Asian session, London session, and New York session. Okay. So Asian session usually happens from 2 o'clock in the morning till about 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay. For South African time, right? Then London session with daylight savings is obviously shifted. It usually starts at 9 o'clock. We're in December now. So when daylight savings shifts again, it will go from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock open. Okay. And the same thing with New York. New York, usually when there's no daylight savings, opens at 3:30. And when there is daylight savings, it opens up at 4:30. So essentially, when choosing a pair, you want to trade a pair that has volume in each of the sessions. So it's pretty straightforward and to understand. If we had to look at GU, so the pound versus the dollar, right? The pound obviously is London, right? I mean, that's in Europe. That usually has the same time frame as South Africa. So 10 to 1, it's either going to open up at 9 or it's going to open up at 10 o'clock, right? Then there's this Frankfurt session that opens up at 8, but you don't have to worry about that too much. So 10 to 1, pound is going to move in the London session, but it's pound versus the dollar. Okay, so that's something interesting to understand. It is pound versus the dollar. So that means it's not only going to move in London session, it's going to move in New York session too, because it's pound versus the dollar and the dollar moves in New York, right? So if we had to look at this, for example, we can clearly see, 1 o'clock in the morning till about 8, 7, yeah, you can see 8 o'clock. Okay, boom, there's a bit of volume, right? This whole little section over here, this is Asian session. So you don't necessarily want to be trading in Asian session because you can see there's not much movement. I mean, it's not worth it to take a trade because you're going to be sitting in hours upon hours waiting for the trade to actually go in your direction, hypothetically, right? But when we come into London session, can you see that there's a lot of volume that starts to take place? Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, you can see 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, all the way to now New York session. When New York session also has a lot of volume. Look here, 3:30 opens. Look at the volume that is being pressed here. We get a massive spike to the top side and starts to rotate lower. So that's GU, right? Then we look at Euro USD, pretty much the exact same thing, moves in Europe, London session, and in New York session. So for example, here again, we have all this Asian session movement, very slow, not much movement. You're wasting your time if you're trading in this area. But then coming into 9 o'clock, there we go. Now we start to see volume coming into the market. Then again, we start to see price actually push very much bullish in New York session. Then last thing but not least is the JPY. So obviously Asian session, this is the China, Japanese, the yen. This obviously moves in Singapore times, right? So in Asian session, you'll see a lot of volume coming into the player. So early morning, we can see there's volume coming in the yen. But then also it starts against where USD JPY is not going to move in London session, right? Because it's a JPY pair and a USD pair. So Asian session and New York session, whereas it starts to actually move in New York session because it's USD versus the JPY. And we can clearly see that there's a lot of volume coming in New York session because of the dollar. So it's just important when you're picking your pair, make sure you are trading that pair in a time frame that it actually has volume. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting your time. Gold moves in New York, Asian session, and London. It's a cross because most countries have it. German 40 is an indice that moves in Europe time, but also moves a little bit in New York. when NASDAQ, US 30, S&P 500, all going to move mainly in New York sessions because those are US stock base. So hope you guys learned something from this. Make sure you're trading with pairs that are in your time frame. Peace out.